You are welcome to the Wealthy Continent channel, a channel dedicated to the great people and continent of Africa. Remember, it is not the place that defines the status of the people, rather it is the people that defines the status of the place. As we continue our journey of financial literacy, we're going to be looking at the topic, should I build in Africa or get a mortgage abroad? Now that you have crossed the shores of Africa, you are now living outside Africa in other parts of the world. One of the things that you will hear people talking about is either you get a mortgage or build back in Africa. And people have acted on information based on influence, based on what they know now, based on even the information they got about mortgages, even about the Western world altogether where they're living. People have information and people just act. I'm going to be asking you a series of questions that I'd like you to think about. Process it. Whatever it is that is your view, I'd like to hear from you. Because the better we know what to do, the better decisions we make, and the actions will show that we have thought things through and how things work will be to our own advantage. So at the end of the day, it is a matter of perspective. The first question I'll ask is, where are you living presently? And how long are you planning to stay there? So if you've traveled abroad, you are asking yourself, have you traveled to settled in another country, or you just came there to study, you came there for health reasons, you came there for scholarship, and it's within a limited time? That would determine a lot whether you get a mortgage or whether you build back home because of the time involvement. If it's a short period, then you will do something different. If it's a long period, you are going to be settling there for a long and staying there for a long time. So your actions and decisions will be different. The number two thing I would like you to think about is, how long do you intend to live abroad? If you have settled, you say, I'm moving my family, I've moved my family, now I'm living abroad. How long do you intend to stay there? Because if you intend to stay for a long time, that is where you are going to be living. That is your new home. So if you plan to move, then you have to know when you are going to move. Then does it make sense for you to start building before moving? Does it make sense for you to start building, to say, I'm not going to get a mortgage where I am because I'm going to be building in Africa? Does it make sense? You have to think about it. Now, if you look at it again, if it's just going to be for a short period, are you going to just say, okay, for the period I'm going to be there, I'm going to just be renting? So there won't be a need for a deposit to get a mortgage. There won't be anything in that line because the time you're going to be staying there is not going to be a long time. So instead of buying, instead of getting into a mortgage, you can talk about renting. So, and if you say that, yes, you are going to be living abroad for a specific time, then you will know what to work on because of the time involvement. The number three thing you want to think about is, if you are planning to build in Africa instead of getting a mortgage, how often do you travel back home to go and live in that property? Because you can't have a property in a place that is empty and you are now renting in another place where you live. So you have to think about it. Is that where you are living for now? If that is not the place you are living now, why don't you think about, okay, this is where I'm going to live. I'm going to take care of where I am now. Now, the number four question is, if you remove all the sentiments that I'm from this part of the world, I live there, I was born here, does it make financial sense? Is there going to be a return on investment? Which property will give you more equity over time? Is it the property in Africa that you built or the mortgage that you have here? Because you have to look at, inflation. You have to look at the value of the currency. You have to look at the development and what is happening in that place. So if you remove all sentiment, does it make sense to do that? The number five question is, if you are going to sell the property, let's assume that you have built the property in Africa and you have no mortgage abroad, you are just renting. Now, you have used foreign currency to build that property. When you sell it, will it give you your money back? Not to talk about profit. These are some of the things you need to think about. I want to hear from you what you think about. I want to hear from you whether there's another strategy that can be used. The number 16 is, what about the issue of inflation? If you decide to rent abroad while building in Africa, will your rent be paid or the expenses be reduced based on the income you are getting from Africa or the building that you have there? Will it ever match up with the inflation where you are? And don't forget, rent will continue to go up where you are. So does it make sense building somewhere and you are still living where you are, paying expenses? Can you get the money back? So at least it reduces your expenses. Lastly, don't you think that you need to enjoy where you are, your primary residence, the place you are living now, compared to a distant place that you don't go every now and then? Somebody might say, okay, I want to do it for retirement. Okay, for retirement, if you are not retiring now, why don't you wait till that time? You can either buy when you get to that stage. You can either rent as well for a year or two to see, do you still want to live in that environment? Do you want to change location? You know, there are a lot of things to think about. I want to hear from you. This is something to think about. This is something to ponder on. This will help you to take the right step concerning whether to build in Africa or get a mortgage abroad. If you have been getting value from our videos, we'd like you to consider subscribing to this channel, clicking on that like button, and sharing with others. Remember, a candle does not lose its value by giving light to others. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.